If you have ever started over from scratch on a Monday, or if you've gone on a diet, seen some results, and then found yourself back at square one, well, this video is for you. Not because you did something wrong, but because probably nobody has ever explained what actually happens when a diet ends. And no, of course, this has nothing to do with willpower or motivation. Let me explain why. So there are a piece of data that I always find useful to share, because there are so many researchers in the field of weight management that shows that the vast majority of people who lose weight with a restrictive diet then regain it within few years. And some of these researchers basically estimates that 75% of people, so 3 people on 4, or well, 75 people in a group of 100, or 750 in a group of 1,000 people, will regain this weight within 5 years. And not only that, they regain at least 80% of the weight lost. Are all of these people not disciplined? Well, are all of them not motivated? Obviously not. So what does this number tell to us? That the problem is not in the people, is in how the approach will be set up. Because there are 3 main mechanisms that almost always lead to quitting, basically. The first one is the excessive restriction. Well, you cut calories for weeks and then the body, of course, responds. How? Adapting. It slows down the metabolism, amplifies hunger signals, makes the forbidden food way more attractive. Not because you're weak, it's just biology. Pure biology, because our body is made in order to react to this situation, and it does it very, very well. The second mechanism is the all or nothing thinking. So basically, you ate more than planned one evening. For example, you go out with friends, family, at work, etc. And then you start thinking, oh, I've ruined everything now. And so you start over on Monday. But a single slip becomes total abandonment. So this is a very common pattern, and it has nothing to do with, the strength of character, because is even this a normal psychology mechanism. The third one is that the plan wasn't designed for the real life. Why? Most approaches basically work perfectly in ideal condition, but real life is never ideal. This is the problem. So there is always a chaotic week, there is always a dinner out, there is always, a different weekend, because we are tired, because something happens, because we are stressed, whatsoever. And the plan, falls apart. Not because you're inconsistent, but because the plan never accounted for reality. We need to take this in consideration, of course, because it will happen to every one of us. So what actually makes the difference then? Well, people who maintain results over time, they don't have more discipline than others. They have systems, different systems. So a system doesn't demand perfection, because no one is perfect, but a system needs to be accountable for the real life, because this should let you go out for a dinner, having a different weekend, get through a stressful week, and at the same time still keep moving you forward. It's not a new diet to follow, it's an approach that works with your body and your life, not against them. Because the interesting thing is that it doesn't require more sacrifice, more discipline than you have already made, basically. It just requires a different direction, a different approach. And when you stop fighting with your biology and your social habits, basically, and you start building something that includes them instead, consistency becomes more natural, much more natural. Not because you suddenly have more willpower, but because you need to use it much less every day. Willpower is a limited resource. If we can use it less and less, we can be more consistent. I worked with people who were convinced that they were the problem. They were that kind of people that never manages to stay on a diet. In the vast majority of cases, instead, looking at the history together, what happened is that something was very clear, because they always use tools that weren't right for them, for example, at least at that moment in their life. So if we change the method, we can change the results. This is the point. In the next video of this playlist, I'll show you exactly what happens in your body and especially in your mind after weeks of restrictive dieting, because it's the specific mechanism that not many people talks about, and this explains why basically the cycle repeats every single time, and you will find it below. And in this video, if I gave you something useful, well, share it with someone that is still thinking it's their fault, because it's not their fault. I'll see you there.